What's going on, everybody? This is Fry. So today I'm going to be going through a Reddit post, which is back from April, where Ninja Kiwi answered the big questions about the up-and-coming card game Bloons Card Storm. Now that we have actually seen some gameplay in the beta, it really puts what they say in context, and hopefully by the end of this video you will know all there is to know about Bloons Card Storm. The first question that was asked, will it be on mobile? And Ninja Kiwi answered, yes, it will definitely be available on mobile. Great news for people who play PvZ Heroes or mobile games like Marvel Snap. The next question, what languages will the game support? And they answered fewer than BTD6 currently, but more than just English. Next question, how far is Bloons Card Storm in development? And are you guys confident on hitting the mid-2024 release date? And they answered the team is still working towards a Q3 launch, but we won't release the game until we are happy with it. Q3 means somewhere between July 1st and September 30th, so hopefully we will be having this game be released in the next few months. Obviously, games sometimes can get delayed, so they're going to make sure that they release it when it's actually ready, rather than rushing the release of it in order to keep up with the Q3 promise. But we should be seeing it by the end of September, if not shortly thereafter. How long will a match last on average? And Ninja Kiwi answered, we're aiming for around 10 minutes per match, but we still have plenty of games that go longer than that. From playing the game in the beta, it definitely seemed like a lot of games took a lot less than 10 minutes. We even had games ending on turn 2 and 3. But as they balance the games, especially the super efficient win conditions in the game, yeah, 10 minutes seems about reasonable. Obviously, the long control versus control matchups are going to be taking a lot longer than that. Next question is, will you be able to get every card in the game without spending real money? And their answer is simply yes. So hopefully they'll be able to get the balance of that right, that if you are grinding the game for many months, you'll be able to get a sizable collection, but you'll be able to sort of speed it up with in-app purchases. Next question is, will the game have card packs you can get using currency in-game, or will the cards be unlocked through some sort of alternate leveling system of some kind, maybe like we've seen in Marvel Snap? And they answered, we're planning on card crafting being a cornerstone of the economy, so players get to choose which cards they are collecting, but we do still love a random card reveal, so we're incorporating some of those moments in as well. I think this is a really smart way of balancing the pay-to-win with the free-to-play aspects of a game, giving the players the power to craft which limited cards they are actually going to own in their collection is a really smart thing. It allows players to get, first of all, the top-tier decks. If there are some decks that are stronger than others, every player will have access to those, and then the sort of pay aspect will be in order to get a bigger collection, being able to experiment maybe with more fun decks, etc. So I think this is a really good way to balance free-to-play and making money with a card game. The next question is, how will monetization be handled? Card games have a historically bad record of being pay-to-win, with a grind that would take years to be able to own every card. And Ninja Kiwi answered, collectively, the team has thousands of hours playing digital card games, and we're aware of some pretty shocking examples. We also don't want everyone to have every card on day one, so we're working to find a good Ninja Kiwi style middle ground. Really happy to hear that they have their priorities straight in terms of making the game free to play. Next question is, will there be a single player mode, or can you only battle other people online? And they answered, there will definitely be some single player content. The next question, will the game have any sort of progression system outside of getting better and going up in whatever ranked mode there is? In other words, will players have to grind to get cards that are outright better, or will they all be somewhat balanced with each other in mind? This is a really important question, to which Ninja Kiwi answered, cards are as balanced as the meta lets them be. We aren't implementing card levels where duplicate cards make the original card stronger, like you see in quite a few card games these days, the word card being in quotes there. They're definitely making a reference to games like Clash Royale and Stormbound that have a system that not only do you have to continue to collect cards, but even the cards you have can be further upgraded by getting many copies. I think this is one of the worst ideas to implement in a card game, the fact that cards can level up. And the reason being is that if you are playing the game in ranked mode and you're getting better and you have an efficient deck, so you're slowly climbing the ranks, eventually you're just going to end up climbing to a certain point where all of your opponents just have an unfair advantage because they have the exact same cards that you have, but theirs are just a few tiers stronger because they either paid for it or they happen to grind the game for a little longer. This is something that totally ruins card games for me, and I think for a lot of players as well, and I'm super happy that Ninja Kiwi had the foresight to not implement any kind of card leveling system into their game. The next question, how big roughly is the launch set of cards? Will certain towers / upgrades eventually get duplicate or alt prints and effects? And they answered, we're aiming for 130 to 150 cards at launch, which is a pretty sizable set. We have only seen in the beta 35 cards, so this will actually be 4 times as many cards as we've seen so far, so that is a very healthy set of cards for the launch of a game, and I'm really excited to see what the game will actually be like with that big of a variety of cards at the beginning. They also said, we'd love to reach the point of doing alt prints of cards, but not something we'll have initially. And that seems to be very good priority by Ninja Kiwi, focusing on the actual game and getting a working game before you start investing into alternate arts. Those things can come after. They will be fun. They'll add something to the artistic flair of the game, but not initially. The next question, will there be new monkeys or heroes, etc. that are not in BTD 6? And they answered yes, we'll have at least one brand new hero. Good news for people keeping up with the Bloons games. We will be seeing some new lore and characters in Bloons Card Storm. Next question, will you be able to play as Bloon Heroes too? Apparently in past games there were Bloon bosses and blimps. So they answered, in Bloons, the monkeys are the heroes, but there will be heroes that have more influence over the Bloons. So far in the beta, we only saw Quincy and Gwen, which were both defensive heroes, and their whole kit was all about popping Bloons. It would be very interesting in this game to have more offensive-minded heroes that can buff Bloons. That would definitely contribute more to a aggro strategy, so really looking forward to seeing that in the game. The next question, will it be a paid game? If not, will there be ads? And they answered, we'll launch the game as free to play, which means we need revenue mechanisms, and we'll have both in-app purchases and rewarded ads at launch. Interstitial ads, or forced ads, are what most players, ourselves included, don't enjoy. So we will limit the use of these as much as we can, while still covering the server costs for players who don't spend or watch rewarded videos. This seems like a really smart way, again, to balance the pay-to-win and free-to-play aspects. You're going to be able to watch ads for rewards, but they're not going to be forced down your throat like a lot of the cash grab mobile card games. This is not going to be one of those. This is actually going to be a legit experience that you're not going to be having to watch many ads while playing. The next question, will the game be free to play? And the answer is yes. So definitely the initial download and getting your initial cards and starting the grind will be free. Really happy to hear that. Next question. Have you given or do you plan to give Tim Haywood the opportunity to once again bring out another set of absolute bangers? Tim Haywood is the composer for the music in the past Bloons card games. He's very talented. And the answer, Tim is already hard at work on a brand new set of bangers just for Bloons Card Storm. He's also a card game fan and is super excited to be playing and composing for this one. So far, the music that we have seen in the beta has been absolutely stunning. I think the in-game music in a card game is an underrated aspect because there is a lot of downtime while your opponent is making their turn. So it is nice to have some kind of music to listen to. You don't want it to be too stimulating because then it will be distracting, but you also don't want it to be too understimulating or else it won't add enough. It's really important also for background music to be something that you can listen to on loop again and again, since that's how it's going to be while you're playing the game. So they're definitely doing a great job of that so far. Next question. In Bloons Card Storm, it seems that monkeys are incredibly hard to remove, as Bloons cannot interact with monkeys. Additionally, monkeys are unable to kill heroes. As a result, it seems likely that there are game states where it is impossible for any Bloon rush to kill the opponent because of an insurmountable monkey force thwarting every oncoming Bloon rush. This inability for either player to kill their opponent seems like a really frustrating gameplay experience. Has the Bloons Card Storm team ever experienced difficulty in terms of hero lethality? If so, how do you address such issues? So a big question, in other words, what is going to prevent games from taking way too long if you have two very defensive-minded decks playing against each other? And Ninja Kiwi answered, this is definitely something the design team has kept in consideration the whole way through, and we have created mechanics to avoid stalemates. And that is the reason why, as we saw in the beta, there is the card storm that puts Bloons automatically onto both sides of the field, and those Bloons are increasing in size. And eventually, if the game goes long enough, they become absolute monsters that are really, really difficult to deal with. And that will definitely make the games not take too long, because one side is just going to run out of answers to the big Bloons and blimps that are coming automatically onto the other side of the field. Next question, how will Bloon resistances like lead and purple work? So lead traditionally in past Bloons games has been immune to any kind of sharp projectiles. They need to be dealt with more with explosives. Purple would be more resistant to magic and fire. So how would those type of resistances be implemented into a collectible card game like Bloons Card Storm? And they answered, we're still deciding which mechanics we want at launch and which ones we can save for expansion sets. Lead was one we played with early, but having them be completely immune to most monkeys didn't feel fun. So we do not currently have lead Bloons in the game. This gets into the subject of what I call silver bullet gameplay. That means that in some games there are cards that are super overpowered, and instead of nerfing them to make them balanced, instead the game just adds an answer on the other side that removes that card, almost like Shamrocket in PvZ Heroes or Big Game Hunter in Hearthstone. I personally am very against silver bullet gameplay for a number of reasons. I think that cards, in order to balance them, they should actually be balanced in themselves instead of expecting an opponent to have the answer, because if the opponent needs a silver bullet to answer a specific card, basically the whole match is going to be determined right when it starts. If the opponent has answers, they're going to win, and if they don't have these special silver bullet cards, they're going to lose. I feel like whenever there's a matchup between two decks, even if one deck is favored against the other, there should still be a chance for the weaker, less favorable deck to win. And when it's required that they're running special silver bullet cards, that's not always possible. It's also a frustrating experience if you're running really powerful cards that the opponent is able to answer them very easily. I definitely experienced this in Legends of Runeterra that has a lot of silver bullets. You can play a huge, very impactful finisher called the Harrowing, and they have a little 4-cost card called Deny that completely negates all of the effects of the card and makes the card go into your discard pile. I definitely would like to see that Bloons Card Storm does not have those kinds of mechanics, and it seems like they're actually being really conscientious about that. Next. What are your inspirations for both game design and artwork? And the answer, the artwork was a lot of the art team letting loose on designs and making absolutely amazing pieces of art for the cards. In terms of designs, we've all spent a lot of time with a lot of different games, so there's little bits of inspiration from a lot of places. The next question, burning question here. What is battle generally like? Is it like PvZ Heroes or Clash Royale? Or could it perchance be something more unique? And they answered, we think it's more unique. For one thing, we have gorgeous 3D model monkeys and balloons. For another, we have monkeys and balloons. In all honesty though, the asymmetry between balloons and monkeys really does stand out as a big difference from other games. This is definitely one of the first things that struck me when I played the beta, and how unique Bloons Card Storm is because your deck is split into completely separate offensive balloons cards and defensive monkeys and powers. I think it is actually one of the most creative innovations in card games in a really long time, if not ever, and I'm really excited to see how the meta will progress with such unique mechanics in Bloons Card Storms. This is definitely not going to be a clone of some other game. This is going to be a very unique experience. The next question, here's a big one. Will power cards have the option of playing them during the opponent's turn? And the answer was not currently. This is something that is more from the Magic the Gathering or Legends of Runeterra formula, where whenever one person plays a card or attacks, the opponent has a chance to respond instantly with certain spells or powers that they have. I'm really happy they're not implementing that into Bloons Card Storm. It's something that, even though it adds a certain level of skill and playing around things in the game, it can also lead to a lot of really frustrating experiences where your opponent just has answers to every single card you play before they're able to do anything. It also makes the game just a lot more effort to play if you have to be constantly playing cards during your opponent's turn. I really think the simplicity is something very beautiful in a card game like PvZ Heroes, and it looks like Bloons Card Storm is definitely sticking to that more simple formula. Really happy to hear that. Next question, what are your long-term goals for this game? Well, the game looked to be a successor to the spin-offs of the Bloons games, or will it just be a fun side game you pump out content to while bigger things occur in the franchise? And they answered, we have super high hopes and expectations for Bloons Card Storm and believe it could be the best card game out there. We want to support Bloons Card Storm for a long time to come. The team has had so much fun working on this project already, and we've got tons of things we want to add in future expansions. We do have a dedicated team for the game, so it won't be a side project for the main BTD6 team, but we need to make sure the community is there too. Sounds like they're making a legit game. This isn't just some cash grab, and yeah, sounds really exciting. Next, why did you decide to make a Bloons card game? They answered, mostly because we all love playing card games. We've had team members make physical Bloons card games several times over the years, and the time was finally right to make a digital one. Next question, when will we get gameplay? And they said, we're keen to do a buy invitation alpha with you all in the coming months. We just experienced the first one just last week, and maybe there will be another round of testing that they'll open up the game again to more people between now and launch. If that happens, I will be the first to let you guys know. Next question, in terms of gameplay, are you happy with the skill to RNG ratio and the general experience the game mechanics will provide for players? And they answered, we're still tuning our initial card set, but so far, yes, we are pretty happy with it. We don't have a huge amount of RNG in our cards at the moment. This is something that I've seen a lot of comments about. There really weren't a lot of wacky, random RNG sort of effects in the game, just in the cards that we saw in the beta. This would be something that would be nice to see maybe in future expansions, maybe not so much in the very first set, to have a lot of wacky cards, since they really want to work on balancing the game, and adding in a lot of RNG could make that a little bit harder. But maybe again in later expansions, to have a nice 20-30% chunk be some wacky RNG cards and then the rest be things that are a little bit more reliable and competitive, that could really add a very fun aspect to the game for a lot of players. Especially as a YouTube creator, it would make for a lot of great highlights. Next, what was the most challenging part of translating the balloon experience into a card game? And they answered, deflating the balloons to make them flat on the cards. Obviously a joke. No, but really, It was playing around with the mechanics, which have been staples of the series, and seeing which ones felt fun to play, and making the calls to remove some of those because they weren't that fun or exciting. For me, this was the number one thing that just blew my mind when I played Bloons Card Storm for the first time. This balance between the offensive balloons and the defensive monkeys, and how they were really able to incorporate those ideas that have been in the franchise for so long into a card game. So far, they've done that absolutely amazing. Not only did it not cause any limitations on the game, but if anything, it is the thing that sets Bloons Card Storms apart to add a fresh take on a collectible card game. Next question, how often will the game be balanced? I adore games where players can play around with different combinations and be creative and still find wins. While I doubt that the game will be perfectly balanced at launch, no game is, I hope that the meta isn't so oppressive where people can't mess around with wacky decks and still have fun. So 2 questions here. First, they answer, how often will the game be balanced? And they say, we don't have a set schedule for this. The team will primarily balance the game when it feels like it's required. And the second part about having an oppressive meta like Hearthstone, where it feels like sometimes there's only 3 or 4 decks that are even possible to play and win. They say we want people to make wacky and silly decks and have fun with it for sure. So it seems like they have all their priorities straight, both in terms of monetization and in terms of updating the game and what their plans for it are. Hopefully this answered most of the questions you have about Bloons Card Storm. If there are any more updates, including an official release date, I will make a video immediately letting you guys know. So make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. This is Fry.